Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and the ranked season is well underway now. We're about 2 weeks into the 3-week season, so everybody's starting to figure out where they're going to eventually finish in the ladder. Now, just very quickly, if you have no idea what ranked battles are, let me explain. It's the most competitive game mode that you can play, I guess, outside of a clan, and it involves tier 10 only tanks. And as you can see, there's quite a few good players that stack up on either side, because as you climb up the ranks, and I think I'm at a rank 11 at the moment out of 15, the field of competition gets better and better. Now, how do you climb up the ranks, you might be saying? Well, you have to get chevrons, and basically the winning team gets chevrons and the losing team loses chevrons, but there's a few differences. Firstly, the bottom 5 players on the winning team do not gain a chevron, and the top 3 players gain 2 chevrons on the winning team, while on the losing team only the top player gains a chevron, while positions 2 to 5 don't lose but don't gain, with the bottom 10 losing. And so what this means is that you're not just in competition with the enemy team, you're also in competition with your own team for those top 3 spots to gain a chevron, or just to finish in the top 10 to actually gain and not just stay where you are when you win. And when you know that your team is going to lose, that means that you're in competition for those top 5 spots to not lose, or the top spot to actually gain a chevron. And so this immediately makes ranked battles a bit horrible, because you can't play too aggressively. There's no point in burning brightly in a game at the start, because you're very unlikely to either finish in the top 5 if your team go on to lose, or alternatively even finish in the top 10, irrelevant if you've made a play that you think is game winning, because of the way that Wargaming's experience system distributes all of the points. So ranked battles, it's not for everybody, let me just say that. But today's video I want to focus on a couple of things. Number 1, just general tips for ranked battles in this season. 2, the meta. And 3, also, whether it's actually worth playing, and how good you actually have to be to play ranked battles to not have to spend your entire time there. Well, firstly, let me get something out the way. For ranked battles, you will be seeing a lot of this premium round usage, because the competition is high. Literally, it can be the difference between a shot or 2 as to what position you finish on your team, and whether you either lose a chevron, don't lose a chevron, or gain a chevron even. And so everybody's willing to just compensate to fire premium rounds so they can have more penetration. Now let me talk about the meta a little bit in this season. Well, Super Conquerors have been hit really, really hard. Now in Season 1, obviously the Super Conqueror was available, but I don't think everybody was using it quite as much. A lot of people were using 268 version 4s, which could really compete with a Super Conqueror. However, now a Super Conqueror just feels like it gets on a ridgeline and slows the game down, and it even goes as far as to firing Hesh rounds at turrets, because everybody seems to have such good armor in ranked. I think that the competition is really high with the tank types that people are picking now. You know, it's IS-7, 113, 277, Super Conquerors. You hardly ever see any tank destroyers. You know, even the squishier mediums like the Leopard and the Batchat are really starting to struggle. Well, of course, like the Batchat is a classic, and it can play a scout role and has the autoloader, so it's not too bad with regards to that. But yeah, it really feels like it's sort of a low-profile, good turret kind of meta and decent gun inside this season of ranked battles. Now, you notice that I pulled back. Why did I pull back? Because I could see that that flank was falling. What am I going to do against Super Conqueror sitting up there with an artillery that seems to want to put a few rounds at me, right? There's no point in dying early, because frankly the players that stay alive longer are the ones that are going to finish higher in experience, because they just being alive helps. Just being in the presence of tanks dying, or just surviving to be able to put in those extra shots, or alternatively even pick up a kill. And especially towards the end of a game, because the enemy team are voracious to be able to try and get as much experience as they can. If they see that they're going to win, a lot of players play very aggressively to try and push the position up to either gain a double chevron or even just not finish in the bottom 5, right? And that's a good moment for when the enemies start to play like zombies. And when people play like zombies in World of Tanks, then you can just farm them up. They usually give you easy shots just to be able to risk their useless hit points in a way to be able to gain experience for themselves, and that gives you an opportunity to pick up experience of your own. So definitely use that to your advantage. You know me, I'm an aggressive player in World of Tanks, but when I play ranked, I have to play very differently. I have to literally play super safe. It's more about consistency. Maybe I won't be gaining a chevron in every game that I play, and that's what I've been trying to do this season, but I have very much been losing chevrons very rarely, because I really try and target the top 5 position on the losing team. Now, that this game's actually starting to get a little close, because we flanked back round here to help out our medium tanks, try and push towards their base in the T100 LT. We've actually got a pretty good position on the enemy, and now we're putting pressure up on the enemy artillery, while our artillery should be effective. Well, effective up until now, because the Object 907, a tank which I think that Wargaming shouldn't frankly allow to play in the ranked battles game mode, of course, because I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous of the 907 because it is very, very strong. With a better rate of fire, I think, gun handling, I think it's got... Also, there's just so much that's good about the 907 that you've got to watch out for. The only thing that it doesn't have these days is it didn't get the turret armor buff on the top, so you can overmatch that with armor-piercing rounds, but it feels like everybody's firing heat anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Alright, so the enemy team decided to go back, crunch our advance. I couldn't really help out there, but our artillery actually managed to survive. Oh, well, the curse of the QuickyBaby. He survived for just a few seconds longer as the enemy artillery shuts him down. So, number one tip, play safe. The worst thing is when I get into this kind of tilt mode and then I play too aggressively, and maybe you've done enough to win the game, but then you finish in the bottom 5, and then you kind of just survive enough in your losing games, but not quite enough, and then you finish in the bottom 10. It's just absolutely brutal. But by just staying alive in the game and just boring it out, you're going to finish in higher positions. Now, the next question I want to address, because we've talked about the meta and we've talked about how people need to be playing ranked at the moment, is it actually worth playing? Well, firstly, let's talk about the rewards and how much people have actually had to play to be able to get the rewards. Now, if you manage to get to rank 15, there's a lot of bonds on offer. We're talking about 4,500 bonds that you get slowly but surely over the ranks that you play. And also, if you do manage to climb quite high up, then there's an opportunity to finish in either gold, silver, or bronze at the end of the season. Oh, nice shot there into the 113, putting pressure up on him in this 3 versus 5 situation. It's going to be rather tricky for us to get through this game. So yeah, there's a lot of bonds, and if you manage to finish in gold, silver, or bronze, you're either getting 4,000, 2,000 bonds, or 1,250 on top. So that means that if you finish in the gold league, you are going to get 8,500 bonds in total over the season, which is just absolutely gigantic, because that's one, if not 2 pieces of equipment that you can manage to get for your vehicle. And while I still don't agree with the enhanced equipment, it seems like the community is kind of accepting it now, and if you are going to try and pimp out a tank and try and maximize the DPM on your Tortoise or the camera rating on your T100 LT, for example, then it's definitely a way for you to enhance your favorite vehicles. And I think that bonds are still rare enough now that not everybody is being able to get them on the majority of tanks that they play, which kind of makes them, it's not exactly like it's an epidemic in World of Tanks. Now, how much do you have to play to be able to get up to the Gold League or Silver League or Bronze League? Well, currently, 3,000 people are Gold, 4,500 are silver, and 7,500 are bronze. Now that is cumulative, which means that 15,000 people are actually getting ranked at the moment, which actually means that 30,000 people have got rank 6 or higher. So that means there's quite a few people playing ranked, actually. It seems like it's quite a success at the moment, or at least on the European server. I don't know how it's going on the North American server, and please do let me know what's happening on the North American server down in the comments below for all of you NA players out there. Now, that doesn't really mean anything. Just because a lot of people have managed to get the rank, you're probably more interested in how many games do I actually have to play. Alright, well, here's an example. I checked out the differences in players who have managed to get into the gold ranking or are just right on the threshold. And the player who's played the least number of games, who has just managed to squeak into gold, I believe has rank 14. I think it's up to rank 14 you have to be able to get to be gold at the moment. Now, they've played 49 battles. They've only played 49 battles. But I hasten to say that this is a super unicorn that has an average 62% win ratio in the random queue at tier 10, which is just pretty much, you know, what all of the unicorns are having. They're even slightly better, kind of like around this level with me and the artillery. And they've had to play 49 battles, and they've probably played a very competitive tank. Now, on the other side, you might be asking, what's the longest that somebody has played to be able to get to gold right now? And there's a player who's a decent player. They've got 51% wins overall on their account in the random queue. You know, that's not terrible. 51% overall means that you're still very much more positive than you are negative in your games. And they have played 593 battles to barely be able to scrape into the Gold League. That is a lot of ranked. It's been out for what, a couple of weeks now? Let's say 16 days. So that guy's pretty much played, oh god, no, quick maths on the spot. He's played like 40 games a night, every single night. 40 games of tanks, and he's barely scraping into gold, and he's a decent player because he's got 51% wins overall on his account. So that really should hammer it home as to whether you can play ranked, at least if you want to get to the top, right, and get all of the bonds. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't bother to try and get into Bronze League, for example. I think you could probably do it in a couple of evenings, maybe, if you're an average player at World of Tanks, because obviously now towards the end of the season, all of the unicorns have climbed to the top, and it is very much safer and easier to play, especially towards the lower ranks right now. And so if you haven't played ranked, maybe you want to give it a go one of the nights this week, because if you do, then you're going to be playing against, frankly, either the players who were never going to climb anyway and are terrible, or alternatively, quite a few of the new players who are just dabbling towards the end of it as well, and the competition should be much weaker. And so, I guess now's a better time than ever to go for it, but please do take into account what I just said about how much that somebody's had to play. And if you're a 52% player, there's no way that you could even possibly play enough now until the end of the season to be able to climb up to the Gold League, but you could probably climb up towards Bronze or Silver, and you're going to still get a lot of rewards along the way. Now, one thing I would like to highlight, let's say you're an excellent player of World of Tanks, maybe you got like 55, 58% wins overall on your random queue for your account. Is it worth playing ranked to be able to get towards the top? Well, kind of is, because ranks 12, 13, 14, and 15 give 5 2-hour 50% credit boosters. So I guess that's going to give you, what are we talking about here, like 40 hours? Yeah, 40 hours of 50% credit boosting. That is a lot, ladies and gents. That is enough to get easily about at least 20 to 40 million credits, depending on how good you're playing in the evening. If you're playing your tier 8 premium tanks with a premium account with that kind of with that boost going on. And that's gigantic. That's going to more than pay for all of the premium rounds that you've been firing. And I guess that's why people are firing them in ranked, because you've got to spend credits to make credits. And that sucks, right? Because it really sucks for the players towards the low ranks who are never going to be able to get all those credit boosters. And they're just trying to, and they're going in their like favorite heavy tank, and they're just getting premium rounds slung at them all the time. And they know that they can't afford to fire the premium rounds because they're never going to get up towards the high ranks and get all those credit boosters to be able to make back the credits that you spent to be able to climb up. So when you think about it, it's kind of a nightmare. And so this is where I think Wargaming have really got a problem with, obviously, their entire game, but also with ranked, that I'm not sure if it's going to be that successful in the future if they keep distributing all of the rewards just towards the top. I know they want people to strive to climb up the ranks, and you know the players who do climb higher should receive more. That's only fair. But I think with those credit boosters, maybe spare them out a little bit more along the way to not really make it feel like you either have to go all or nothing if you choose to play ranked. So this was a great battle for us in our 140. We really managed to turn this game around with some tight plays, and while our damage might not be humongous, it was still enough to finish first in this game and take down that double chevron reward. But what's very important is that by falling back from that flank, you could argue that I kind of lost it for the team, or I increased our likelihood of losing that flank. But in the end, ranked, you've got to be selfish. You've got to fall back from a flank unless you know that you're going to win it. Because the people who are alive at the end of the game pick up that soft damage, they pick up that experience, and because the system is not just about winning, it's by winning well or losing well, ranked really doesn't promote taking risks for the team unless you're absolutely certain that it's the only possible option. And just before I wrap up this video, I'd like to highlight that I spent 51,000 credits on ammunition, but because of the 50% credit booster, we actually managed to break even if you take into account the consumables that we used. Anyway, ladies and gents, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, make sure you give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below whether you have bothered with the ranked battles this season. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What do you think about the meta as well? And what do you think Wargaming could do to enhance the quality of ranked battles in the future? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.